Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley from Pure Prairie League, and you're listening to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast, live from the Barn Studios. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined with Mike Riley from Pure Prairie League. Mike, how are you, man?
I'm great. I'm great. How's it going?
Going really well. We're excited. September 28th at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri, the Legends of Country Rock, Pure Prairie League, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Richie Furay from Poco, and Firefall. So going to be a great night of some great tunes.
That's a great package, and it's going to be a lot of good music. Plus, there's always a terrific crowd at the Family Arena. So, we love playing there, and it's going to be a blast.
I think St. Louis, I know it's St. Charles, but St. Louis area, right? It's treated you pretty well over the years, right? And how much of KSHE 95 plays a part in that? Because they spin your stuff still all the time. So how much do you credit them for your popularity in St. Louis?
As far as I'm concerned, 100%. They've always supported us all through the years from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and on. And they play our music. We've done a bunch of shows with them, and it's KSHE is St. Louis. Period.
That's right. Shout out to those guys, and they're just a staple in the classic rock and the rock, radio landscape, I guess. And I always like to give them a shout out because I think credit's due there, and I'm glad that bands like you guys are able to recognize that and appreciate that.
Well, it's they did the Feats at Five show for a long time, and all kinds of just great radio. In those days, I'm afraid are kind of in the past, but they keep on keeping on.
You've been at this a while. How have you seen this the music business change over the decades, really?
Oh my God! Well, it's after 55 years, there's been a lot of changes. The whole paradigm has shifted, and it's for an old fart like me, it's kind of hard to keep up with. But any change is good or can be good, and so we're just doing our best to try to keep up and keep current.
Is it still about the live show though? We're on streaming now, and I know vinyl releases coming back, and physical copies of music is sort of making a comeback. But is rock and roll still about the live show?
Well, I think it's always been about the live show. I mean, the way that people can put their talents on display is by playing live, and it's not a TikTok thing. It's the real deal. So. I grew up in the 60s, and the live music that was happening in the 60s and 70s was pretty much hard to beat. So it's still about the recording and the work that you put in. We've got a new album coming out in a couple of months, and it's going to be on vinyl. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd just as soon put it on 8-track.
Yeah, absolutely. So vinyl's back, obviously. You're seeing the return of cassettes. Will 8-track ever come back, you think?
I don't think so. That was it was not a very reliable medium to begin with, but I've still got every Pure Prairie League album on 8-track in my office here. And, every once in a while I just dig them out and throw them in the 8-track player that still works. And
yeah, that looks like a pretty cool office back there. I see all the guitars and is that a banjo or mandolin back there? How often do you play? How often do you try to keep all your skills sharp?
Well, I try to play every day, at least a little while. You've got to keep your chops up. And this is also, it's my office, but it's also my own little recording studio. So, between Pure Prairie League and I play with a little local band out here with a couple of guys, local guys like G.E. Smith from Saturday Night Live and Rick Davies from Supertramp. So, I keep my chops up.
Do you listen to any kind of modern music? You can obviously tell that country and rock has definitely fused at this point. I can't tell what's what now, and maybe that's a good thing. And I'm sure you see Pure Prairie League as maybe some part of that, or at least your legacy. And when people mention you as a an influence on their sound.
Well, that's, it's, I think the fact that we started, in 1969 has a lot to do with that. So, with the kids that are making music these days, it's very nice that they, respect their elders and cite us as influential. But yeah, when the country rock thing sort of started back in the late 60s, early 70s with the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash, Poco, the New Riders, the Burrito Brothers and Pure Prairie League. It was it was kind of a fledgling genre. Now I think you're right, it's fused, but I think it's almost confused, with what's coming out of country radio these days.
How do you keep the band's legacy alive and still, you talk about having a new album coming out. How do you still keep, how do you still keep it appealing to new generations of country and rock fans?
Well, we do a damn good live show, I'll say that. So, and we don't use backing tracks and tapes and gimmicks. We just go out there and play music. And I think that's what appeals to every generation, young and old. So, the people that come to our shows, even though they started out listening to us in their college days and now they're grandparents, but they're turning their kids and their grandkids onto our music. And the new generation seems to take to it very well.
Amy, obviously being one of your most beloved tracks, but its path to popularity is pretty interesting to me because it actually didn't hit the charts. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think it hit the charts until like it was out for like 3 years or so.
That's correct.
When you guys first released it, it didn't have widespread popularity, but it didn't really catch fire until maybe 1975 or somewhere around there.
That's basically it. It was released in '72, but at that time, RCA was still having trouble figuring out how they were going to pigeonhole us. We were too country for LA and we were too rock for Nashville. So,
Yeah.
the bean counters had a problem with that. But, and then they dropped us while we were on tour in '73 and then picked us back up in '75. So when we recorded and released the Two Lane Highway album, they released Amy as a single and it finally got up to about, I think 32 on the charts.
What is it about that song that is so appealing to people even today? It's obviously your most popular song or most streamed song anyway. What is it about that song that you think resonates with people?
Well, for every kid that picks up a guitar, it's pretty easy to play. And, there was a lot of humping going on in the '70s in the colleges when we were playing that song. So, I think that colleges were responsible for turning it into a classic.
You mentioned Two Lane Highway, the album. Two Lane Highway, the song, is another one that's very popular on your set list. And that song represents, I think, maybe a sense of freedom and small town life in a way. What does that represent for you guys as a band?
Well, that was, that was just, that was a pretty fertile writing period. And, we were out on the road. We were doing 275 shows a year. And mostly in colleges. And so that song Two Lane Highway was just sort of a natural result of, all that road work.
To me, that's my favorite. I listen to music in a lot of different places, like settings at a lot of different times in my life. But my favorite, I would say, other than the live setting, obviously, is my windows rolled down, driving on a country road, and the right song hits you at the right time. And to me, that's one of those road trip songs that I think it's going to be everlasting, right? It's going to last well beyond our lifetime. And what does that mean to you?
Well, that's artist validation. That just means that people relate to our music and relate to that song. And, it means that we did our job as artists.
Vince Gill was a part of the band for several years, and I think not everybody knows that. So when they hear that, it might be somewhat of a shock to them. Although if you were around that time, you're very familiar with that. But what did his time in the band? How did that change your sound, if at all? And what was his influence on the band's sound?
Well, when we first met Vince a couple of years before he joined the band, he was just playing bluegrass music, and he was killing it. I mean, he sings like a bird, plays like a house on fire. And, it took me 2 years to get him into the band. But then once he joined, he was, he really expanded his talents. I mean, he was playing like Larry Coryell 1 minute and playing like Tony Rice the next minute, and just amazing. Plus, his singing voice was amazing, and we've always been a vocal band, so that was just the perfect addition.
This is the Midwest Mixtape, joined here with Mike from Pure Prairie League and the Legends of Country Rock, September 28th at Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri. We're really looking forward to that. Mike, what can the fans expect September 28th at the Family Arena?
Well, I think they're going to get their butts kicked, number one. It's a lot of really good music from a lot of talented musicians, and it's a great package to see. It kind of is reminiscent of the old days in the 60s and 70s when you'd have multiple acts on a bill. But this is going to be it's going to be a great time, and we'll be throwing a few new songs in from the new record, and we'll be playing, of course, the classics. Flat Tire Merle, Two Lane Highway, Let Me Love You Tonight, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a good show.
You mentioned the new album. Tell us a little bit about it, if you don't mind.
Well, it's, we sort of take our time. I think the last album we had was in 2005, and the one before that was 1987. So, we're kind of taking our time in our reclining years, and but I'm really proud of this record. It features our two newest guys, Jeff Zona and Jared Camic, and they've got 8 songs on the record, and they're just singing and playing great. It was a pleasure to produce, and it sounds terrific. So I can't wait to get it out there.
And did you say a release date on it?
Well, we're still waiting on the artwork, and then we have to have it manufactured and all that. So I think probably Halloween might be a good target date. Worst comes to worst, we'll have it out for Christmas, and everybody can stick it in their stockings.
There you go, right there. Physical copies, right? You got to get that vinyl.
You got it. CDs, vinyl, and watch out, we might just do an 8-track.
Mike Riley from Pure Prairie League. You're going to catch him and the rest of the band and the rest of the bands playing at the Legend of Country Rock, September 28th at Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri. Mike, appreciate your time today and can't wait to connect with you when you get into town.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on, and we're looking forward to seeing all our friends and fans in St. Louis on that night.
Thanks so much, man.
Great. Thank you.